Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today's story takes place in Dover Township, New Jersey. The name changed to Tom's River in 2006, but at the time of these crimes, it was still Dover Township, so I may refer to it as both Tom's River and Dover Township. Before we get into the story, I am going to tell you about a movie that was filmed here. Dover Township was the filming location of the house used in the 1979 movie Amityville Horror. At the time, the house didn't have the barn-style roof and eye-like windows. A film crew built a fake roof on top of the existing roof and added the three top front windows, the eye-like windows to the side, and the barn-style roof to make it look like the original DeFeo house on Long Island, New York. The New Jersey house was originally positioned like the house on Long Island. It sat on the corner and faced Dock Road, with the banks of Tom's River on the side of the house. In 1981, the house was moved away from the corner and repositioned to face Brooks Road, and the river runs behind it. The house looks like this today. A new house stands where it once stood. The house was recently listed in 2022 for over $1.6 million and sold for over $1.4 million in January of 2023. Now, on to the story that took place in 1974. It is about two girls who didn't know each other, but are forever linked because of their unsolved murder. This is the story of 14-year-old Suzanne Garden and 18-year-old Cynthia Leslie, who went by Cindy, so that's what I'll call her. Suzanne Garden was born on December 10, 1959. She was a freshman at Tom's River High School South. On January 27, 1974, Suzanne left her home around 4 p.m. Apparently, she had ran away. The following day, on January 28th, a witness reported seeing Suzanne in the downtown area between noon and 1 p.m. Suzanne's mother reported her missing. January 30th, two boys were playing in a wooded area near Maple Crest and Delaware Roads, which was just over a mile from Suzanne's house, and discovered her partially nude body. She had been beaten, stabbed, and strangled. By February 6th, police had questioned over 400 people, but were unable to establish exactly where Suzanne had been between January 27th and January 30th. She also was not wearing the same clothes she had last been seen in. Police were asking for anyone who may have seen her to contact them. I have to be honest, Suzanne's story didn't get a lot of press coverage. I'm not sure if it was because she was rumored to be a runaway, but her story ran once in the newspaper, and that was on February 6th when the police were asking for help from the public. Only after Cindy Leslie was found dead did the paper start putting Suzanne's name out there along with Cindy's, because police believed they were related due to the manner of death. Cindy Leslie was born on October 24, 1955. She was the middle child of 5 children. There were 4 girls and 1 boy in her family. She attended Tom's River High School South, where she played first base on the All-Star Girls softball team. She graduated in June of 1973. By August, she had landed a job at Ocean Advertising Agency as a billing clerk. This was the location the agency was at during that time. February 26, 1974. Cindy left work after 1 p.m. to go to lunch. She was also going to deposit $6,000 worth of checks for the agency at First National Bank, which was a 5-minute walk. She was last seen walking near the post office, which was near the intersection where she would have crossed on her way to the bank. She never made it to the bank and never returned to work, and when she didn't return home that evening, her father called in a missing person report at 6 p.m. that same night. Her boss at the agency didn't report the checks missing until 3 days later on March 1st. He trusted Cindy and knew she would not take off with the money. He knew her parents had reported her as a missing person. February 28, 1974, the paper published Cindy's picture, asking anyone who may have seen her that day to contact the police. March 3, 1974, a woman walking her dog in a wooded area, which was a 2-minute walk from the post office, discovered Cindy's fully clothed body. Police gathered evidence from the scene and discovered the bank deposit bag along with all the checks and ruled out robbery as a motive. March 4, 1974 is when the police mentioned Suzanne Garden's name again. They stated that both Suzanne and Cindy had been strangled and stabbed. It appeared Cindy had been strangled with her own belt. Neither of these girls had been assaulted in a sexual manner. It was mentioned that something was found on Suzanne's breast, but no further details were given. March 5, 1974, police set up a roadblock 250 feet away from where Cindy's body was found. They were stopping all drivers and asking if they had seen Cindy on February 26. One motorist did tell the police he did see her arguing with a man with dirty, shoulder-length hair. He noticed them because they were on the pavement near the road and the cars had to swerve not to hit them. The area he saw them was near a footpath where her body was found. It was in the opposite direction of both the post office and bank. March 6, 1974. Cindy was laid to rest. After a graveside ceremony at Ocean County Memorial Park, Cindy's mother was so distraught she needed to be helped to the car by her husband. Meanwhile, police had received over 200 calls with tips on Cindy's murder. They didn't have enough details to release the composite sketch of a man seen arguing with Cindy by the motorist. Cindy was described as an extrovert. Everyone liked her. She was involved in activities to help the community. Her boss said she had a good head on her shoulders. By March 10th, police had questioned over 3,000 people in the murder investigation into both Suzanne and Cindy. Police considered them connected and released a map showing where their bodies were found. March 12th, police set up another roadblock and were questioning motorists in hopes to get more detailed description of the man seen arguing with Cindy. They were unable to get any more details on that day. In the following days, police held a press conference and local radio stations were asking for anyone who saw anything on February 26th to call the police. March 20th, 2 other people had come forward and said they saw the altercation taking place on the side of the road on February 26th because it caused a traffic jam. Police released a sketch of the man seen with Cindy. He was described as a white male in his 20s with dirty blonde or light brown shoulder-length hair. He was between 5'2" and 5'4", stocky, with a green work jacket with red block lettering on the left breast side. No one was able to make out what the letters spelled out. Police were looking at local companies who wore uniforms to try to determine if any matched the description. By this time, the number of people questioned had reached 4,000. The sketch generated 40 more calls of people who knew someone who looked like the man, but nothing panned out. In June of 1974, a man, Charles Haley, was arrested in connection with the death of 2 teenage girls in Bridgeton. One was found in March and the other was in April. Both girls were found in wooded areas and murdered in the same manner as both Suzanne and Cindy. Bridgetown is an hour-and-a-half southeast of Toms River. Charles was being questioned about Suzanne and Cindy's murder. Within days, the police were not optimistic Charles was involved in their murders. He had been working at a factory for the last 7 months and only missed 3 days of work, and none of those days corresponded with the dates related to Cindy and Suzanne's disappearances. However, they were still considering him a suspect. Another woman who Charles abducted from a phone booth in Bridgeton said he took her to a gravel pit and robbed her of $25, then put her in the trunk of his car and drove her to a ballpark where he let her go. She described him as being about 5'7" with reddish hair. His facial features certainly matched the composite sketch, but his wavy red hair and height didn't seem to match. July 21st, 1974. Police confirmed Charles Haley was no longer a suspect in the murders of Suzanne and Cindy, and they were investigating a new suspect, but would not disclose any additional details. Nothing further was reported. The suspect was never named. October 4th, 1974. Police were investigating 19-year-old Robert Leach, who lived in New Jersey when both Suzanne and Cindy were murdered. He also attended the same school as they did. He was in Florida jail waiting trial for a murder he committed, but was found dead in his jail cell, having used bed sheets to take himself out. Police were also able to rule him out after investigating his timeline in New Jersey. December 27, 1974. The bodies of two young girls who had gone missing on December 13th were found. The two girls were last seen leaving a church youth group together. They were identified as 14-year-old Doreen Carlucci and 15-year-old Joanne Delarno. The girls lived about an hour north of where Suzanne and Cindy were. The cause of death was similar. They were both found in a heavily wooded area. It looked like they had been dumped on the side of the road, consistent with being thrown out of a vehicle. By January 5, 1975, police did not believe the two girls' deaths were related, as there were multiple differences between the deaths. However, Doreen and Joanne's murders are also still unsolved as of 2024. Suzanne and Cindy's murders didn't get mentioned again until September 5, 1976, when police were investigating the deaths of Cynthia Leeds and Virginia Dirks, both of whom I've done stories on. The police had no new leads, but assured the public it's never too late to solve a crime. However, as of 2024, their murders are still unsolved. At this point, I like to memorialize the victims. I did that for Cindy when I talked about the day of her funeral, but I was unable to find any more details about Suzanne. I do know that they are buried in the same cemetery. Both of these ladies and their families deserve justice, and I hope someday they will get it. The case officially went cold, with only a few mentions over the years in the papers, the last time being March of 2022. Investigators said Suzanne and Cindy's murders are still an open investigation and asked anyone who may have information to contact the Major Crimes Unit at 732-929-4760 or the Tom Rivers Police at 732-349-0150 during non-emergency hours. Hopefully someday soon their murders will be solved. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.